Everyone, and welcome to Section 5 of the Golden Garrison series. Shipyards. Now, naval missions are mostly like land missions, but they have some important differences. And the most important is that, unlike followers, ships can be destroyed, so you kind of have to rebuild them every once in a while, unless you take precautions to protect them. Now, the naval base doesn't make as much gold as the others, which is why it's last. And it takes a lot of effort, but it still can be pretty fun, especially if you get a good fleet going. So, once you reach level 100 and upgrade your garrison to level 3, you'll find Vol'jin in your town hall. That's the war chief of the Horde, making a house call to one of his minions. Yeah, they do a lot of ego stroking in this game. Anyway, he'll send you on a quest to get your naval yard started, so that you can take a boat over to Tanan and start the quests there. You go downhill, down the winding path to this location, to the naval table here, and you have to start building ships so you can send them out on missions. Now they have a series of intro quests that are pretty easy to get through. They allow you to build destroyers and eventually battleships and subs. And, well, the big problem here is that in order to get the more advanced ships like the carrier here, you kind of need to do a lot of naval missions first. They don't allow you to just jump in with both feet like you can with the followers upstairs. You have to do missions, you have to do treasure missions and combat missions, and then finally they give you access to the rest of the fleet. However, you can still build ships in the interim. Just because you don't have access to all of them doesn't mean you can't fill up your fleet as best you can. Now, you start with 4 ships, if I recall. And once you're done with all the missions, you get a fleet size maximum of 10 ships. So what you do is you head downhill. I did this long before I had flying. And once you want to build a ship, you talk to this guy here and set up a work order. And he allows you at first to build a destroyer, a transport, and a sub. Then later on you get a battleship and then finally a carrier. Now, ships all take oil, every single one of them, and the carrier takes a lot of oil. 220 some? Just 200. Anyway, you will run short on oil at the beginning. Don't worry about it. You can't be expected to build a massive fleet immediately. But eventually, you'll have more oil than you know what to do with, because frankly, you get it in so many different ways. So anyway, you talk to Solog, you get a ship building. About half an hour later, that ship will be completed here, and you just go and click on it, and it pushes the ship out into the harbor. And then you can start sending it on missions. Now, included in the intro storyline, in the intro quests, is how to equip your ships with advanced equipment, the kind of stuff that they use to counter threats on missions. And this little guy here sells all of that. All. In true goblin fashion, he's got a monopoly on the market. Alright. In addition to selling shipyard rush orders, which I would never ever buy because frankly they don't take much time to build anyway, he sells all of this equipment from various different locations. Now remember, you won't have any of this to start with. The intro storyline will give you a blast furnace, I think, but the rest you have to find on your own. Not to worry though, if you don't have it, he'll include a tooltip as to where you can find it. And pretty much all of this equipment is found in the Tanan jungle from various sources. Now, missions. Ship missions have a lot of different threats. Let me look them up for you. Whew, okay. The fleet composition is here on the left. Then they have these 4. Evasive, First Strike, Mine Layer, and Swift. And these are the most common by far. You probably want to fill them out in approximately the similar fashion. I can give you a full ship layout of mine if you want. I tailored my ships specifically to handle the few gold missions that are in naval yards. These ones, maybe it was a mistake choosing to counter them, maybe not. They're pretty rare, but I chose anyway for some of the gold missions. Now, we get special ships as well. The cool part about this is that, sorry, actually, it's not particularly cool. The sad part about this is that when you build a ship, you have no control over which crew gets on it. It could be a Goblin crew, it could be a Blood Elf crew, it could be a Pandaren crew. And it's all pretty ridiculous. You can't even give them orders as to who gets on the ship and who doesn't. So, I've arranged my crew mostly undead, because undead crews have a slightly better chance at mission success, and Goblin, because Goblin crews have increased gold rewards by 100%, which, well, that's why we're here. So, when you build your shipyard, you're probably going to have to build a ship, see that it has the wrong crew, go up here to this table, decommission the ship by right-clicking on it, and then once it's gone, go back downstairs and build another ship. That's what I had to do again and again. It gets old fast. However, once you have your fleet completed, you really don't need to worry about it again, especially if you take precautions to protect your ships. And those precautions are called unsinkables. Now, I buy a lot of these because I send my ships out on a lot of missions, but really what you need to do is any ship that you can't afford to lose, you equip with an unsinkable. Or you send it on a mission that has a 100% chance of success, because there is no middle ground. Eventually your ships will be sunk if you send them out on not 100% missions, unless they have an unsinkable. The unsinkable is basically an extra life. Once the ship is in a situation where it would be destroyed, it loses the unsinkable instead, and you have to equip another one. So you just have to remember to keep on doing that. Now, the special ships. This is where the random chance gets actually pretty cool. Every time you build a destroyer, there's a 5% chance that that destroyer will be a ship called the Murgle Mark II. I don't even really know how to pronounce that. But if you get the Murgle, hold on to it because it's badass. Instead of having a normal undead, goblin, Pandaren crew, whatever, it has a Murloc crew, which means that this ship is not only a destroyer, it's also a transport. It can counter both threats at the same time. So hold on to that sucker. In addition, every time you build a sub, there's a chance that you can get the Burgle, which is basically the exact same thing. Burgle Mark II, I think. There you are. You're on a mission right now. And again, it functions as both a sub and a transport. So hold on to that one as well. And finally, if you get enough reputation into Nan, you can buy a ship from the Order of the Awakened called the Awakener. I know, again, original. And the Awakener functions as both a destroyer and a carrier because it has an Arakoa crew. So those three ships are the ones you want to focus on especially. And once you have those, well, your shipyard is basically as complete as it can get. Now, the equipment that I set up, again, as I said before, is very specific to the missions that I looked up. I looked up all the gold missions that I could complete at 100%, and then I tailored my ship specifically to answer them. And obviously I didn't get all of them. There's no way to get all of them with Goblin crews, but I did as best I could. And obviously when Legion rolls around, all of this will be thrown out the window and I'll have to build an entirely new fleet for the most part. So, ships that I built. You need 3 destroyers, 3 submarines, 3 battleships, and 2 carriers, which is more than 10 ships, I know. But remember, you can double up on some of these. So, the Murgle, that's important, 2 destroyers, one with a Goblin crew, and one with the Arakoa crew that you need. So Murgle, Awakener, and a ship with a Goblin crew. Now for submarines, you need Burgle, you need a ship with a Goblin crew, and a ship with an undead crew. And then for battleships, you need 2 Goblin crews if I recall. No, sorry. 1 Goblin crew, 1 undead crew, and 1 Orc crew, because there is one mission that you need that has icy water that you can cut through with the Orc crew. And then finally, for carriers, well, there's only 1 slot left, so you just build a carrier and put an undead crew on it, if you can. Once you have that layout, and you can equip them as follows. I know, this is going to be difficult to write down. My suggestion is that you just pause the video as I go through. So, the Goblin Destroyer has a ghostly spyglass and a trained shark tank. The Murgle has a ghostly spy gas and a true iron rudder. The Core has a blast furnace and a trained shark tank. The second destroyer has a gyroscopic internal stabilizer. I'm not entirely sure on that one, but I picked it anyway because there is a treasure mission that needs it. And an unsinkable. Remember, not all of our ships need unsinkables because those ships are just sent out on 100% missions. The carrier has a high-intensity fog lights and an unsinkable. The undead sub has a fell smoke launcher and an unsinkable. The orc battleship has a bilge pump and an iron rudder. The goblin sub has a blast furnace and a trained shark tank. The murloc sub has a fell smoke launcher and a trained shark tank. And finally, the awakener, well, this is the special one. This one has an unsinkable, and it has a Tuskar fishing net. Now, the net automatically fishes for you, which is basically the greatest thing in history. Every time I send the awakener out on a mission, it always brings back fish for me. And if it gets in a situation where it might be destroyed, well, the unsinkable is taken instead, and I replace the unsinkable, but I still keep on getting fish, because I don't need to replace the Tuskar net. Now, as you can see, I've got a few fish here. I haven't thrown a line in over a year. I have not fished myself. It's not even necessary, because the unsinkable takes care of all of it for me. The Tuskar net takes care of it all for me. Whew. Unfortunately, when Legion shows up, obviously no one will be in the market for this kind of fish anymore, so I'll probably just want to rebuild that, re-equip that as well. Anyway, once all the equipment is in place, well, you'll be doing missions throughout this entire time as best you can. Remember, unless the mission is 100%, there's always a chance the ship can be destroyed and you have to rebuild it, so be damn careful about that. Now, this section is native to the Horde. It has the easiest missions, with only one counter each, usually meant just to level up your ships. The other sections all have blockade missions that occasionally pop up. And blockade missions are basically the most annoying thing in this section. Every once in a while, there will be a mission that shows up that you have to do first, that blocks the entire section away. So one for the North Sea, one for the Evanescent, all of them. And these missions aren't that difficult, really, but they take half an hour, and that's half an hour that you could be doing other stuff. So you just have to be aware of those and finish them as soon as they show up. Oh, oil. Oil, you'll run out of oil at the beginning. Like I said, it's not really a problem. And there are ways you can get oil in your garrison by using grease monkeys to complete missions. But if you go to the Tanaan jungle and buy an oil derrick, you will get this one, oil pickup locations. Now that mission is unlike the others. That mission will never go away. Either you're on it or it's available. Unlike the others, either you simply can't get rid of that mission, which is actually kind of cool. More than that, even though it says it has a transport requirement, it doesn't. Any ship can go on it. See, I don't need to send the Murgle to finish this mission successfully. I could send Locken and Corehammer, and look, 100% chance. No problem. It's that easy, really. So, this is basically an infinite supply of oil, but all of the other missions are either A, easy to complete, and therefore something you want to send a fishing ship on, or B, take a long time. 18 hours is the max, unfortunately. So, I tailored my ships to go after gold missions first, but again, when Legion shows up, that's all going to change. So, take it as it is. You really don't need to do the naval yard. Oh, one additional thing. In some missions, you'll get a buff. As in, a mission will show up, it will always take 4 hours, and when the mission is complete, it will generate one of these buffs. And these buffs stick around for hours to days, as you can see, and have secondary effects. For example, Captain Thokosh's command here increases experience gained. Well, all my ships are maxed out, so this is useless to me. But this one, the Apexis Storm, gives me Apexis crystals every time I complete a mission successfully. But, as you can see, it only applies to the missions that are inside that circle. Now, most of these buffs are pretty much pointless. I only do them just to get them out of the way so that the next buff will show up. But the buff that shows up in this corner up here increases gold gained down here. It doubles it. So some of the missions you're going to want to wait until you've completed the buff mission, and then the gold buff shows up down here. It doesn't matter if you've started the gold mission and then you do the buff. It doesn't help. You need to do the buff first. It's kind of ridiculous, actually. But that's about that for the Naval Yard. The cool thing are some of the perks you get. You get some transmog gear from completing the naval mission successfully, enough of them anyway, to get an achievement. You get this. That's the Admiral's Compass that allows you to teleport to your shipyard. Highly useful. I don't just use it to do naval missions. I use it to get back to my garrison when my garrison Starstone is on cooldown. It's pretty helpful, actually. And finally, once you've completed a meta achievement for the Naval Yard, you get a naval shipyard table inside your town hall. So you don't ever have to go back down to the Naval Yard again unless you're buying naval equipment, like replacement unsinkables. I know, it's all very complicated, it adds up in a hurry, and some of you might not think it's really all that necessary, and I tend to agree, it's more of a bonus, I guess. But I like everything garrisons, and I like everything followers, so I did it anyway. But anyway, once you get the meta achievement, this table shows up, and this table is moved back there. Alright, that's it for the naval missions. And don't forget to watch the secondary section I'm putting up after this, the bonus options that I found helpful. Have a great day.